Elias never expected the evening to feel so strange and exciting at the same time. The joint human-alien station usually stayed quiet, filled with the soft sounds of machines, footsteps, and the distant hum of energy fields. But that night everything was different. The Great Hall, which normally held meetings and reports, had been transformed into a place for a cultural gathering. Lights of different colors shimmered slowly above the crowd. Soft music played from a device that mixed human and alien melodies into something peaceful and calming. The event was meant to help both species understand each other better. Many humans came wearing suits or simple dresses, while the aliens wore soft, glowing fabrics that moved like water when they walked. Some aliens had tall, slender bodies and long limbs, while others were shorter with smooth, bright skin. There were so many shapes and colors that Elias felt as if he had stepped into a dream. Elias himself was not used to big gatherings. He worked as a technician who stayed mostly in quiet rooms, repairing wires, replacing parts, and checking systems. He liked calm places where nothing unexpected happened. But his supervisor told him attendance at the event would be good for him. It's a chance to relax and understand the visitors from another world. So he came, hoping he would not embarrass himself. He stood near a refreshment table, holding a cup he barely touched. People were talking, laughing, asking questions about each other's worlds. But Elias did not know what to say, so he stayed back, observing the colors and music. It felt safe that way. He watched as humans tried alien foods and aliens tried human snacks. Some were fascinated, others confused, and a few made polite faces after tasting something they clearly disliked. But then Elias saw her. She stood near the center of the hall, slightly separated from others. She looked like the aliens, but still different in a way he couldn't explain. Her hair was long and silver blue, flowing like threads of light. Her skin had a gentle glow, not bright but soft, like moonlight touching calm water. Her eyes were deep and expressive, and when she smiled, it felt warm, honest, and completely unexpected. Aliens rarely smiled openly, at least not the way humans did. Their culture was more reserved. Their expressions were usually calm, focused, thoughtful. But this woman's smile was friendly, welcoming, and full of a kindness Elias had never seen before. It made him curious without making him nervous. He felt a strange sense of comfort, as if her smile alone could invite him into a conversation. She wasn't talking to anyone. She wasn't busy. She wasn't surrounded by guards or groups like some of the other aliens. She just stood there, looking around the hall with calm interest. Every now and then, someone walked past her, but she only nodded politely and stayed quiet. Elias felt a soft push of courage inside him, something he did not usually feel. He kept glancing at her, wondering why she looked so gentle compared to the others. He wondered if she felt alone, or maybe she was simply enjoying the atmosphere in her own quiet way. The music changed. It became slow and graceful, with a steady beat created by both human drums and alien crystal instruments. Some couples began stepping forward to dance in the open area of the hall. At first, only humans danced, since aliens were unsure how to join. Then a few brave aliens tried copying the movements, and soon more pairs formed. Elias watched them with a small smile. He had never been a good dancer, but something about the moment felt peaceful. The lights, the soft colors, the mixed melodies, it all created a gentle environment where nobody judged anyone. Everyone was simply trying to enjoy their time. Then he looked again at the silver blue-haired woman. This time, she was watching the dancers with a curious expression. Her smile grew slightly as she observed the movements. She stepped a little closer to the dance floor, but she didn't join. Her hands stayed folded in front of her, calm and still. She almost looked as if she wanted to join, but wasn't sure if she should. Elias felt something in his chest again. He didn't know what it was. Maybe courage, maybe impulse, maybe simple kindness. He thought about how she had been standing alone, and how her smile was the brightest part of the room for him. Before he could talk himself out of the idea, he took a slow breath and walked toward her. As he approached, she turned her head and looked at him. Her eyes met his, not with surprise, but with gentle curiosity. She seemed ready to listen, even before he spoke. Elias felt his heartbeat speed up, but he reminded himself that he was just being friendly. Nothing more. "Hi," he said softly, hoping his voice wouldn't shake. "I noticed you were watching the dancers. Would you like to try, if you want, I mean?" For a second, he wondered if she would misunderstand. Or maybe she would decline politely. Maybe she would think humans were too bold. But instead, her eyes widened slightly and her smile grew warmer. She nodded with a calm grace and said, "Yes, I would like that." Her voice was soft, pleasant, and carried a strange musical rhythm. Elias felt relief wash over him. He offered his hand gently, not wanting to be rude. To his surprise, she placed her hand over his without hesitation. Her fingers were cool and smooth, and her touch was light, as if she trusted him without question. They stepped onto the dance floor together. Elias tried to guide her slowly, showing simple steps first. She watched his movements carefully, then followed with surprising ease. Within moments, she matched his rhythm perfectly. She didn't laugh at his clumsy footwork. She didn't look uncomfortable. Instead, she continued to smile, as if the simple dance brought her genuine joy. Other people began noticing them. A few humans whispered to each other, amazed that she had joined the dance. Some aliens exchanged surprised looks. It wasn't common for them to dance with humans, especially not with such openness. But the woman didn't seem to care. She focused on Elias, moving with calm confidence. Elias felt at peace. He usually hated attention, but somehow dancing with her made him forget the crowd. He focused on the music, the gentle weight of her hand, and the kindness in her expression. He felt a strange connection forming, something simple yet sincere. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her rank or status. He didn't know anything about her world or her people beyond what he read in basic manuals. But he didn't need any of that in the moment. All he knew was that she had a lovely smile that made the entire hall look brighter. As the music continued, the woman tilted her head slightly and said, "You dance with care. You are gentle." Her voice carried honest appreciation, not flattery. Elias felt shy and rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm not very good," he admitted. "But I'm glad you don't mind." "I do not mind," she replied, her smile softening even more. "This is peaceful." The word peaceful stayed in his mind. She seemed to value calm moments, just as he did. It made him even more comfortable with her. When the song ended, they slowly stepped back from each other. Elias felt a small feeling of disappointment, wishing the music lasted a little longer. But he kept his expression friendly and polite. "Thank you for the dance," he said. "Thank you for asking me," she replied gently. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. The hall continued its noise and motion around them, but Elias felt as if everything had slowed down. He had no idea that his simple act, tasking for a dance because of a kind smile, would change his life. He only knew that he had shared a beautiful moment with someone special. He didn't know she was important. He didn't know she was powerful. He didn't know she was a queen. He only knew she smiled, and sometimes that was enough. The dance slowly ended, but the feeling it created stayed with Elias long after he stepped off the dance floor. He had not expected the evening to change so much just because he followed a moment of courage. He had simply seen a warm smile and decided to be kind. Now, as he walked toward one side of the hall with the alien woman walking quietly beside him, he felt something unusual, a deep, calm happiness. They stood near one of the glowing crystal pillars that illuminated the hall. From here they could see the entire event continuing. Humans and aliens were still talking, laughing, asking questions, and trying foods from each other's worlds. But now, more aliens were joining the dance floor, copying the movements they had seen. Some were awkward, some surprisingly graceful. The music, mixed from both cultures, flowed warmly around the room. Elias noticed people staring at them more than before. At first he didn't think much of it. Maybe they were curious. Maybe they liked seeing a human and an alien dancing together. But the looks grew more frequent, more focused. Some humans whispered while glancing at the alien woman. Some aliens watched with stiff postures, clearly surprised by something. Elias felt a little uncomfortable. He wasn't used to attention. He tried to ignore it, but the stares kept coming. The alien woman, however, seemed unaffected. She stood quietly, her hands folded gently in front of her, watching the hall with calm interest. If she noticed the stares, she gave no sign of it. Her expression stayed peaceful, and her posture stayed relaxed. "You're very calm," Elias said softly, trying to keep his voice light. She turned her head slowly toward him. "Should I not be calm?" she asked with a gentle tone. "Oh no, I just mean—" "People are looking at us a lot," he said. She blinked once, then glanced around. When she saw the people watching them, her face didn't change. She simply nodded as if she had expected this to happen eventually. "They are curious," she said. "About what?" Elias asked. She looked at him for a moment, as if thinking of the best answer. "Perhaps about me," she said. "Or about you. Or about the fact that we danced." Elias gave a small, awkward laugh. "Is that unusual? For some, maybe?" she replied gently. Her words surprised him. He wondered what she meant. Why would people be surprised? Many aliens had joined the dance after her, so dancing didn't seem like a forbidden thing. Still, the way the crowd watched them felt different, too focused, too heavy with meaning he didn't understand. Before he could ask her more, a small group of alien attendants entered the hall. Their outfits were more formal than the others. They wore dark uniforms, with glowing lines that represented authority or official rank among their people. Their posture was straight, their expressions serious. Elias noticed them right away because they moved with purpose. They scanned the room, searching for someone. Then their eyes fell on the alien woman next to him. They froze. One of them lifted a hand slightly. "There," he said quietly, but Elias still heard him. Immediately, the group began moving toward them with a mixture of surprise and urgency. Elias felt his stomach tighten, unsure what was happening. The alien woman, however, didn't react. She only watched them approach with her calm gaze, as if this was expected. The group of attendants stopped in front of her and bowed their heads slightly, not in a friendly greeting, but in a respectful, almost ceremonial way. "Honored one," the lead attendant said softly, "we did not know you would participate openly." Elias blinked in confusion. Honored one. The title sounded unusual, formal, and far too important for a simple guest at a gathering. The woman beside him nodded gently to the attendants. "There is no reason for concern. I am only observing." "But you were dancing," another attendant said, clearly startled. With a human, Elias felt heat rising in his face. He wasn't sure if he had broken a rule or caused trouble. He stepped back slightly, trying not to interfere. I didn't mean to do anything wrong," he said quickly. "I just asked if she wanted to dance." The attendants looked at him with expressions he couldn't read, part surprise, part disbelief, and part something else he didn't understand. The woman turned calmly to him, her eyes soft. "You have done nothing wrong." Her voice was steady and reassuring, and it eased his nerves instantly. The attendants, however, still looked uncertain. More people in the hall began noticing the scene. The whispers grew louder. Humans tried to guess what was happening. Aliens exchanged quiet comments among themselves. The energy in the hall shifted, becoming tense and expectant. Elias shifted his weight, trying to stay relaxed despite the pressure growing around him. He had never been in the center of attention before, not like this. He wished he could hide in the crowd, but he stayed still out of respect for the woman beside him. "You may continue enjoying the event," she told the attendants with a calm authority. "There is no problem." But one of them began, but stopped when she glanced at him with a gentle but firm expression. They bowed again and stepped back, but from a distance, they continued watching closely. It looked less like casual supervision and more like quiet protection. Elias exhaled slowly. "I didn't know you had guards," he said awkwardly. "They are attendants," she corrected kindly. "They assist and ensure order." He nodded, though he still felt confused. "I hope I didn't cause trouble by asking you to dance." "You did not," she said softly. "Your actions were kind." Her words eased him again, but his curiosity grew stronger. Something was odd. People weren't reacting like she was just any visitor. The attendants called her Honored One. The crowd was whispering. And even though she seemed calm, the way everyone treated her felt different, almost like she was someone extremely important. Before he could ask anything else, a human officer approached them. He was one of the coordinators of the event, dressed in a neat uniform with badges showing his rank. His face was friendly but full of caution. "Is everything all right here?" the officer asked, looking between Elias and the woman. "Everything is peaceful," she replied politely. The officer nodded, though he looked unsure. "Many people are asking questions. You seem to be drawing a lot of attention." Elias wanted to melt into the floor from embarrassment. "I didn't meant to," he said quickly. "I just asked her to dance." The alien woman looked at him with gentle amusement, as if his worry was unnecessary. She then looked at the officer. "There is no issue." The officer hesitated, then nodded and walked away. Elias sighed. "I feel like I stepped into something I don't understand." "You stepped into nothing dangerous," she said kindly. "You simply shared a dance." Her reassurance made him smile awkwardly, though the situation still felt strange. For the next few minutes, they stood together quietly. Elias watched the dancers while trying to calm his thoughts. The alien woman observed the hall with the same gentle expression she had since the beginning. Even with people watching her constantly, she did not seem bothered. Then she spoke again. "You asked me to dance because of my smile," she said. Elias felt surprised she remembered that detail. "Yes," he admitted. "You looked kind. I thought you might enjoy it." I softened. "Many do not approach me so freely." "Well," Elias said with a weak laugh, "I didn't know I wasn't supposed to." She looked at him for a long moment, studying him with thoughtful eyes. "Sometimes," she said softly, "not knowing rules allows kindness to appear more naturally." Elias didn't fully understand, but her words felt meaningful. Before he could reply, the music changed again, and the hall became louder. People began gathering for another dance, but this time, when Elias looked around, he felt the atmosphere shift even more. People were watching the alien woman with a mixture of respect and confusion, and they were watching him with surprise, as if he had done something unbelievable. He didn't know why, but he would soon find out. For now, Elias just stood beside her, aware that the simple dance he offered had already started stirring whispers across two worlds. He didn't know he would soon be summoned. He didn't know he would soon face leaders on both sides. He didn't know she was not just a visitor. He didn't know she was a queen. All he knew was that she had smiled at him, and he had been brave enough to answer that smile. Elias did not sleep well that night. Even after returning to his small room in the human living quarters, his mind kept drifting back to the events in the hall. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail again and again: the music, the lights, the warmth of the dance, and of course, the alien woman with the gentle smile. He had never experienced anything like it. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her background. All he knew was that she moved with grace, spoke with calm certainty, and accepted his hand without fear or hesitation. She treated him with a quiet respect, unlike anything he had expected. But then there was the other part: the stares, the whispers, the attendants rushing over with concern. The respectful bow as they addressed her as honored one. He could not understand it. Why had she drawn such a strong reaction? Why did people freeze when she danced with him? He had no answers, and the questions kept him awake long into the night. Eventually he fell asleep, though it was shallow and restless. When morning came, the bright light through his window felt more like an unwelcome interruption than a fresh start. Elias groaned softly and sat up, rubbing his eyes. He wasn't scheduled to work until later in the day, but he had barely stood up from his bed when his room's communications screen lit up brightly. A message displayed in bold letters: "Elias Hargrove. Report to the main administrative chamber immediately." His heart jumped. The main administrative chamber was a place only high-ranking officers, diplomats, and special guests typically visited. Technicians like him rarely entered, unless something serious had happened or unless someone needed answers. Elias swallowed hard. Is this because of last night? He washed his face quickly, combed his hair, and put on the cleanest uniform he had. His hands were slightly trembling, but he forced himself to stay calm. He kept repeating to himself, "I did nothing wrong. I just asked someone to dance." Still, the worry clung to him like a heavy weight. He walked through the long corridor that led to the chamber. As he approached, he saw 2 human guards standing outside the entrance. They straightened when they saw him. Elias Hargrove. One guard asked. Yes, Elias replied, his voice a bit nervous. You're expected inside. The large doors opened slowly, revealing a spacious hall filled with glowing displays. Flags from both species, and an oval table at the center. Several high-ranking human leaders were seated there, along with a group of alien officials in formal attire. Elias froze. He recognized some of the human leaders from news broadcasts. They were people who made important decisions about the station, alliances, and interplanetary cooperation. The aliens seated across from them were clearly officials too. They wore elegant robes with glowing symbols representing status, tradition, and authority. Everyone turned to look at Elias the moment he stepped inside. His stomach dropped. One of the human leaders stood. Elias, thank you for coming quickly. Please take a seat. He walked to an empty chair near the end of the table. He felt like a child sitting among giants, and his heart wouldn't stop pounding. An alien official, tall with shimmering markings on his skin, leaned forward. Human Elias, he said with a calm but serious voice, we have gathered to discuss an important matter involving you. Elias swallowed thickly. I understand. But I don't know what I did. You danced, another alien official said. Elias blinked. Yes, but is that a problem? An awkward silence filled the room. Humans exchanged uneasy glances. Aliens kept their expressions still, but intense. Finally, the lead human representative spoke, choosing his words carefully. It depends on who you danced with. Elias felt the tension tighten around him again. She never told me her name. A soft sound came from behind him. Elias turned. The woman from the previous night entered the chamber. But she looked entirely different now. Gone was the soft, flowing outfit. Instead, she wore formal, ceremonial armor, smooth, elegant, and shimmering faintly with silver blue light. The armor had markings that looked ancient and important. A long, flowing cape draped behind her, and her hair was tied in a high, regal style that made her appear taller and more authoritative. Guards followed behind her and positioned themselves at a respectful distance. She walked toward the table with quiet dignity, as though the room itself bowed to her presence. Every alien official stood immediately. Every human representative rose as well. Elias remained seated for a moment, too shocked to move, until one of the human leaders gently signaled for him to stand. He rose slowly, his heart thundering in his chest. The woman stopped near the center of the table. Her eyes met Elias's for a brief moment, calm, warm, familiar, but then she looked toward the officials. One alien official bowed his head. Your Majesty, he said respectfully, thank you for joining us. Elias's thoughts froze. His breath caught in his throat. Your Majesty? He looked at her, frozen in disbelief. The alien woman turned toward him with the same gentle expression she had worn during their dance. Ah! But now there was a quiet strength in her eyes. Elias, she said in her soft, musical voice, I am sorry that you had to be summoned like this. Elias stared at her, trying to grasp the situation. I didn't know, he whispered. I didn't know you were a queen, she finished gently. Yes. He felt dizzy for a moment. This calm, kind woman he had danced with, this woman who smiled softly, who followed his simple steps, who accepted his invitation without hesitation, had been the queen of her entire people. He took a step back, panic brushing his mind. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I didn't mean to disrespect you. If I had known, she lifted her hand slightly. Please do not apologize, she said with warm firmness. You showed me kindness, not disrespect. The room fell silent. The officials watched the exchange closely. Elias felt the queen's gaze settle on him, and instead of judgment, he saw understanding in her expression. The lead human representative cleared his throat. Queen Serenthia, he said respectfully, your attendants reported that you danced at the gathering with a human. This has created questions among both sides. Yes, she replied calmly, I am aware. And an alien official continued cautiously, you danced without revealing your identity. That has created more confusion. Elias felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. But the queen stood confidently. I revealed my identity to no one because I wished to observe freely. It is rare that I am approached without fear or expectation. Elias offered a simple act of kindness. I chose to accept it. Her words echoed through the hall. The human leaders exchanged looks of surprise. The alien officials looked at Elias with new eyes, not entirely friendly but not hostile either. They seemed to be analyzing him, trying to understand what made him special enough for their queen to speak of him so gently. The queen turned to Elias again. "You did nothing wrong," she said softly but firmly. "You acted with sincerity. That is all." Elias finally found a bit of courage to speak. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just saw someone who seemed kind, and I thought she might enjoy a dance." Few humans gave small smiles at his honesty. Some aliens looked confused, as if kindness was too simple an explanation. The queen, however, looked pleased. "That is exactly why your action is meaningful," she told him. "You treated me like a person, not a symbol." An alien official spoke cautiously. "Majesty, the dance has caused rumors among our people. They wonder if it means something more." The queen's expression stayed calm. "It means respect. Nothing more." Elias nodded quickly. "Yes, it was just a dance." But then the queen added, "Yet it was a moment I appreciated deeply." Elias stared at her, surprised by the softness in her voice. It was clear that the dance had meant something to her, a rare moment of normalcy, perhaps even freedom. The officials continued their discussion, asking questions, clarifying misunderstandings, and talking about public reactions among both humans and aliens. Elias answered their questions simply. He had seen a smile, felt encouraged, and asked politely. Nothing more. Throughout the meeting, the queen remained composed, graceful, and fair. Several times, she defended Elias's intentions. Every time she spoke, the room listened. By the time the meeting ended, Elias felt exhausted, overwhelmed, but strangely relieved. The queen stepped toward him as people began leaving the chamber. "Elias," she said softly, "do not carry worry because of this. Peaceful actions should never cause regret." He nodded slowly. "Thank you." "Your Majesty?" she smiled, the same warm, gentle smile that had drawn him to her the night before. "In private," she said, "you may simply call me Serenthia." Elias felt his heart skip. He did not know what this meant for his future. He did not know what others would think. He only knew that he had danced with a queen and that she did not regret it. Not even a little. After the long meeting, Elias expected everything to return to normal. He thought that once the officials understood he meant no harm, life would go back to the usual rhythm work, routine, quiet evenings, and small interactions with the other technicians. But the next day proved him completely wrong. Everywhere he went, people were whispering. Some humans greeted him with surprised smiles, as if he had done something heroic without realizing it. Others stared at him with wide eyes, whispering to their friends when they thought he could not hear. A few even asked him curious questions like, what was she like? Or was the queen really that calm? Elias answered politely, but kept his replies simple. The aliens reacted differently. Some watched him with respectful confusion. Others kept their distance, unsure how to interact with someone who had shared a dance with their queen. A few even bowed their heads slightly when passing by him, though he wasn't sure whether they were showing respect or simply following their traditions. Elias felt uncomfortable with all this sudden attention. He didn't feel special. He didn't feel powerful. He didn't feel connected to royalty. He was just a technician who worked quietly, someone who liked fixing things and avoiding drama. He didn't want to become the center of anything, but fate had other plans. Later that afternoon, while finishing a repair on a damaged communication panel, 2 alien attendants approached him. They wore the same formal uniforms he had seen in the hall. They stopped at a respectful distance. "Human Elias," the lead attendant said. "Her Majesty requests your presence." Elias froze mid-action, gripping his tools tighter. "The Queen wants to see me?" "Yes," the attendant said. "Please follow us." He took a deep breath and nodded. All right. They led him through areas of the station he had never visited before. The hallways were decorated with shimmering tapestries and glowing crystal structures that seemed to pulse gently with energy. These areas were clearly reserved for high-ranking officials and honored guests. Eventually, they reached a large doorway framed by carved symbols. 2 alien guards stood on each side, straight and silent. The attendants bowed their heads slightly, and the doors opened smoothly. Inside was a peaceful chamber filled with soft light. The walls glowed like smooth stone, and a small fountain flowed in the center, its water shining like tiny stars. The air smelled faintly of fresh leaves and something sweet. Elias stepped inside slowly. Standing near the fountain was Queen Sarenthia. She was not wearing her full royal armor today. Instead, she wore a simple but elegant robe with soft colors that shifted gently like clouds in the sky. It made her appear both regal and approachable at the same time. Her hair was loosely tied, and she looked more relaxed than she had in the administrative chamber. When she saw Elias, she smiled softly, the same warm smile that had first caught his attention. "Elias," she greeted him. "Thank you for coming." He bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, you may call me Sarenthia," she reminded him kindly. He nodded, still feeling shy. "Sarenthia," he said carefully. She walked toward the seating area and gestured for him to sit with her. The chairs were shaped like curved petals, soft and comfortable. Elias sat down slowly, unsure of why he had been invited. For a moment, they simply sat quietly, listening to the gentle sound of the fountain. It helped ease the tension in the room. Then the Queen spoke. "I imagine your day has been unusual," she said with a calm smile. Elias let out a small, nervous laugh. "Everyone keeps staring at me. I think some of them are scared to talk to me now." Her eyes softened with sympathy. "My people hold the position of queen in very high regard. They fear offending me. When someone interacts with me without knowing my title, they are surprised." "I didn't mean to cause all this confusion," Elias said honestly. "You caused no harm," she replied gently. "If anything, you revealed something valuable." Elias raised his eyebrows. "What do you mean?" Sarenthia folded her hands in her lap, her expression thoughtful. "Many of my people believe humans are too distant, too cautious. They think your kind will never truly connect with us. Last night, you proved that belief wrong." He blinked. "Just by dancing?" "Not only by dancing," she said. "By approaching me without fear, by speaking to me as an equal, by showing simple kindness." Elias looked down, feeling embarrassed. "I didn't know you were a queen." "And that is exactly why it mattered," Sarenthia said gently. Silence filled the room again, but it was peaceful, not tense. The Queen looked at the fountain for a moment before speaking again. "Elias, there is something I wish to tell you. Something I did not explain during the meeting." He straightened. "I'm listening." She looked at him with calm, honest eyes. "I chose not to reveal my identity at the gathering because I wanted one night without formality. One night where I could smile freely, speak freely, and understand your people without titles shaping their behavior." Elias nodded slowly. "I understand." "When you asked me to dance," she continued softly, "it was the first time in many years that someone approached me without fear, expectation, or desire for gain. You asked because you saw a person, not a position." Elias shifted, feeling both humbled and uncomfortable receiving such praise. Anyone would have done the same. "No," she said, shaking her head gently. "Most would have hesitated. Many would have watched me from far away, unsure how to behave. You acted with warmth. That is not common." Elias felt warmth in his chest. He didn't know what to say. Sarenthia continued in a steady voice. "My people believe their queen must always be strong, formal, and distant. But I am still a living being. I have emotions, hopes, and a wish to feel normal sometimes. You allowed me a moment of normalcy." He looked at her, surprised at the vulnerability in her words. She took a slow breath. "But now, the question arises among my people. Why did the queen dance with a human? Why did she smile so freely? What does it mean?" Elias shook his head quickly. "It doesn't mean anything important." "I didn't know, and I know," she said calmly, "and I will explain to them. But before that, I wanted you to hear the truth directly from me. You gave me something rare, a memory without duty. Elias felt a quiet warmth spread through him. Sarenthia stood and walked to the fountain, touching the glowing water gently with her fingers. Elias, I do not expect you to become part of political stories or royal discussions. I only wish for you to be at peace. He stood too, unsure whether he should approach. Thank you, Sarenthia. That means a lot. She turned toward him with a soft expression. There is one more thing. His heart skipped a beat. Yes. I would like to speak with you again, she said simply. Not as queen and subject, but as two individuals learning about each other's worlds. Elias blinked, surprised. You want to talk with me? Yes, she said with a gentle smile. You helped me feel human for a moment. Perhaps I can help you understand my people better as well. Elias felt his tension fade. I'd like that. She nodded happily. Good. The attendants re-entered the chamber quietly, signaling that her next duties were approaching. Sarenthia slowly walked toward them, but before leaving, she turned back to Elias one last time. Elias, she said softly, do not let fear guide you. The dance was not a mistake. He met her eyes and felt the truth in her words. I don't regret it, he said quietly. Her smile brightened. Neither do I. Then she left the room, her cape flowing gently behind her. Elias remained standing near the fountain, feeling both overwhelmed and strangely at peace. He had come expecting a warning or a formal message. Instead, he had found something unexpected, a queen who valued honesty, a person who longed for simple moments, and a connection that felt both delicate and meaningful. He didn't know where this path would lead, but he knew this. His life had changed the moment he invited her to dance. And now the queen herself had told him that she did not regret it. Not at all. Elias could not sleep that night. Even though the meeting with the alien officials had ended hours earlier, his mind kept repeating every detail again and again. He had danced with the alien queen without knowing. He had spoken to her like a regular person. And instead of being upset, she seemed almost happy about it. This thought made him feel both relieved and nervous. What if he had done something wrong without realizing? What if this kindness was only temporary? His thoughts kept moving in circles until he finally closed his eyes and let exhaustion win. The next morning, he woke up to a message on his handheld device. It was short but important. The queen herself had invited him to meet her again, this time in a peaceful garden area behind the main station. The message was polite, almost friendly, and she added that she wanted to continue their conversation from yesterday. Elias felt his heart beat faster. No queen, no leader, no powerful figure had ever spoken to him in such a calm and warm tone. He quickly prepared himself, making sure he looked presentable, even though she had already seen him at his most nervous. The garden area was quiet when he reached it. It was filled with glowing plants and soft blue leaves that moved gently when the wind passed. The alien architects had tried to create something that both humans and their species could enjoy. Birds from their worlds sang soft notes, mixing with a light breeze that smelled like fresh rain. Elias looked around, unsure where to stand, until he saw her approaching from a shaded path. She wore a simpler outfit today, not her armor, not her formal robe. The clothes looked comfortable, almost casual, though still elegant. She smiled when she saw him, the same genuine smile that had encouraged him the night of the dance. That smile alone made him forget his fear. She thanked him for coming. Elias bowed slightly, not out of fear, but respect. She waved her hand gently, telling him there was no need for such formality when they were speaking alone. This made him relax a little. They walked slowly through the garden, following a path between the glowing plants. The queen asked him how he felt after the meeting yesterday. Elias answered honestly, saying he felt confused and worried at first, but was glad she was not angry with him. She listened carefully, nodding at his words. She told him that she had spent her entire life being treated like a symbol, like a leader, before anything else. People respected her, but sometimes they also feared her, and this built a wall around her. She explained that when she attended the cultural event disguised in simple clothes, it was the first time in many years she could walk freely without heavy expectations on her shoulders. No guards watching every move, no advisors whispering instructions, no officials waiting for her commands, only the chance to observe, listen, and feel normal for a moment. Elias listened quietly, surprised by how open she was being. He had never imagined a queen could feel lonely or trapped by her own responsibilities. He realized that even powerful leaders had personal struggles that others rarely understood. She continued speaking, telling him that when he invited her to dance, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: freedom. She laughed softly, saying she knew it sounded simple, but that moment meant more to her than he could imagine. Elias felt honored, but also humble. He had not done anything special. He just followed his instinct and treated her the way he treated anyone who smiled at him kindly. They sat on a bench made of smooth stone. A small pond rested in front of them, filled with tiny glowing fish that moved like small stars in water. The queen asked him about his work, his family, his dreams, and why he joined the research station. Elias told her his story honestly. He shared how he always wanted to help build peace between the species, even if his part was small. He also shared that he enjoyed learning about other cultures and meeting new people. The queen listened with interest, asking gentle questions that made him feel comfortable. After a while, she told him she had made an important decision. She wanted him to become a cultural liaison, a bridge between humans and her kingdom. She believed he had the right qualities: honesty, patience, respect, and the ability to treat others equally regardless of their status. Elias was shocked. It was a huge responsibility, much bigger than anything he had ever expected. He asked her if she was sure he was the right person. She nodded without hesitation. She said that peace was built not by great speeches or large armies, but by simple moments of understanding and kindness. His act of inviting her to dance had shown her that humans and her people could truly connect. That moment had created a new possibility, and she wanted him to help shape it. At first, Elias worried he would make mistakes or disappoint her, but the queen assured him she would guide him when needed. She reminded him that he had already proven his sincerity. Her calm confidence slowly eased his doubts. He agreed to take the role, promising to do his best. The following weeks were busy and meaningful. Elias found himself working closely with both human leaders and alien officials. He learned about their traditions, their history, their beliefs, and the challenges they faced. He helped plan events that brought humans and aliens together for cultural exchanges, shared meals, and peaceful discussions. Many people were surprised by how well he connected with the alien community. Some even whispered that the queen trusted him more than many of her own advisors. Through all this, the queen often met him personally to discuss progress and share ideas. Their conversations became more natural and friendly. She spoke to him not only as her advisor, but as someone she genuinely enjoyed spending time with. Elias found that he understood her more deeply as weeks passed. She was strong, yet gentle, wise, yet curious, and always willing to listen. Her smile, the same smile that had once encouraged him to ask for a dance, now felt like a familiar comfort. Their friendship became known among both species, and people slowly began to accept it as a symbol of unity. Some admired it, some questioned it, but no one could deny the positive change it brought. Peace became easier to build when everyone saw that their queen trusted a human, not because of his rank or power, but because of his sincerity. One afternoon, the queen and Elias visited the same garden where they first talked after the meeting. They walked slowly, remembering that earlier day. The queen told him she was proud of what he had accomplished. Elias thanked her for trusting him, saying he never expected any of this to happen when he first invited her to dance. She laughed softly and said that life often changed direction with the smallest actions. The glowing plants surrounding them swayed gently. The pond shimmered. Birds sang in soft voices. Everything felt peaceful. Elias looked at the queen and realized how far they had come. From a simple moment on the dance floor to an unlikely friendship that helped bridge to worlds that still felt unbelievable. But it was real. It was something neither of them would forget. She thanked him again, not as a queen giving an order, but as a person speaking to a friend. She said he reminded her that leadership did not mean distance. It could also mean connection, understanding, and the courage to trust others. Elias smiled back. He told her that her smile had changed his life more than she knew. She paused, then returned the smile with a warmth he had grown to appreciate. Their friendship continued to inspire both species. And every time people asked how such an important bond had begun, Elias remembered the night he simply invited a kind-looking woman to dance. He had no idea she was a queen. But in the end, that innocence was what made everything possible. It was the beginning of a peaceful future built not by power, but by a smile, a dance, and two people who chose to understand each other.